Hey, it's Andy with the Wedding Biz. Well, some time ago, I was talking about feeling creatively bored, and that went on for longer than ever in my life. And I've had nonstop passion for music since I was around six years old. And I started commercially viable and working bands when I was around 15. And since then, I've traveled to very cool parts of the world with music and had just incredible experiences. And after 27 years, though, of performing in my premium band Sound Connection, I felt like I was starting to age out of what I want for the look of the band to be, as well as simply being tired of working so many weekends. And I guess I had become bored of playing that kind of gig after doing literally over 1,500 or 2,000 of them. Anyway, moving on from performing in them on the weekends has opened up the space for podcasting, which has become a great passion of mine. Well, something clicked again somewhat recently with the music business, and I decided to take each act, especially the bands for now, to another level higher. And so I've been working with the on-site leaders and the music directors and ultimately all the band members, as well as producing new videos to show the progress. And you know what? I'm having a blast. You know, a big part of it is not only having an amazing business partner in Robert Sherman, who has been on the show, but having evolved the bands to having even better team members, and that's so much obviously what this is about. And so once again, it's a very exciting time for me. So anyway, if you missed last week's episode, it was with planner designer Jason Fitzgerald out of Atlanta. And today's guest is Kathleen Deery, owner of Kathleen Deery Design and chief creative officer of Paula LeDuc Fine Catering and Events. From her South of Market studios, Kathleen, her staff, and team of designers create comprehensive aesthetic looks for weddings, events, and parties. Using flowers, textiles, lighting, paper, and furniture, Kathleen not only designs venues, she creates environments. Filling the role of chief creative officer, Kathleen is also now part of a group of proprietors who bought PLD, Paula LeDuc, the well-known and highly respected catering company. Kathleen's work has been featured among Vogue, Town & Country, and Brides, and is trusted among top-level planners such as Mindy Weiss, Marcy Bloom, Lynn Easton, Michelle Rago, Lori Aarons, and so many more. Enjoy this conversation with Kathleen Deery. Hey, Kathleen, it's so good to have you on the show. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Andy. This is a thrill.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to ask you first when you felt the passion for floral design and how it manifests. If you could think back, how did that come about for you?
Oh, that's such a great question, especially since it started at such a young age. My mother has quite a flair with flowers, and she's the type of person that finds joy in a blade of grass. So as kids, we used to I grew up in a small town called Cranberry, New Jersey, just outside of Princeton, a very pretty little historic town. And she used to take her 4 daughters on walks in the snow, looking for the early signs of spring. So we would go on our crocus walks, and she would teach us how to look for the blades of crocus coming up through the snow. So I think that was early, beginning of appreciation of nature and flowers in particular. And I was just one of those wildflower picking little girls. And from there, it stemmed, no pun intended, into a love of floral and design. And I worked early days at a local flower shop with a friend of our family owned the shop. And she sort of taught me everything I know. And which was really great because those were some traditional techniques that are still used today, many of them. And that was it. And it sort of blossomed from there, if you will.
So what year did you start your design company?
I started my design company when I was 26 years old in my garage in San Francisco.
Wow, I love stories like that, where we start small like that. I could say the same about my business. Well, I understand that you're one of, I believe, 4 people who bought Paula LeDuc's company, Paula LeDuc Fine Catering and Events, while retaining your own name-branded company, Kathleen Deery Design. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Well, what is your role within that group of proprietors? I mean, I know that you're chief creative officer, but can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So my role in the sort of the umbrella brand of companies is probably tastemaker. Um, the Paula LeDuc Fine Catering and Events is a 43-year-old business going strong. And I am very, very good friends with Paula and Jim LeDuc, the founders of the company. And I was really honored to be asked to be one of the new owners of the company. And I think that what I bring is a taste level that will take us into the next, set of years. I'm not going to say how many because I've been doing this already for almost 30 years. But and I put my touches on the catering aesthetics, the food station designs. I redecorated our entire campus for one, and redesigned our tasting room. So now our clients have a new, fun, refreshed experience up in our tasting room when they come in to taste the food that will be soon at their guest tables. And I bring an aesthetic that it inspires innovation and creativity. And I'm sort of the den mother, if you will. I sort of go around and make sure that the morale is high, and we have plants and flowers and candles and fancy soaps and all that kind of stuff around the campus. That's definitely one of my touches.
Well, I was actually there. It was back in, I think, October of 2018 that I came and interviewed Paula. And it was, for those listening, it was episode 103, November of 2018. And I remember that what really stuck out to me, one of the things was that she talked about how catering is so much more than just that it's actually creating theater.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. And she has a wonderful expression that she would say it's all, she would really chalk it all up to relationships as well. That's one of the things that Paula always talks about. And I can attest to that in my own, nearly 30 years of being in business, but certainly being now combined with the culinary aspects. It is theater. I mean, when you think about, a tent or a beautiful atrium full of 250 people, and you have a wild kitchen in the background plating up stunning food, and how a parade of fine looking men and women serving fine looking men and women is theater. It is theater, and it's quite a dance and choreographed when it's done right. And we have a wonderful team in place for all of that. It's fun. It's fun to be on this side of it too now.
Yeah, right. Well, can you describe how you work or your team with high-end planners and brands? Like what is that the process typically like?
Well, it's a wonderful opportunity when a wedding planner, an event planner comes to us with a fun project. And, we basically start, Andy, with, the location, sort of where is this all happening? What are the surroundings? How many guests are we talking about? What's the client? What are the clients like? How do they like to entertain? How do, what is important to them about entertaining? And what do they want to convey on this very special day to their guests? Do they want an intimate affair? Do they want kind of a blowout affair? What's important to them? Some people, the most important thing is the food and the drink. A lot of people, the most important thing, and I love this, so many people think the flowers are one of the most important things. Also, the music. Somebody might really be inspired by the music and the band, and so we would maybe in that case design a much more elaborate stage and backdrop, and an incredible dance floor scene. But we begin with the setting, and then we really glean quite a bit from the event planners. They tend to have a closer connection to the client. We're always involved with the client, but it's always collaborative with us. Always.
Yeah. Is it a similar process, or, like I know that with some of the planners for these really high-end events, they prefer to do all the communication, and or are in your position, are you always able to talk to the clients?
We pretty much are. I mean, very seldom. I think we add value to the communication and to the conversation. Um, and I think the design element of an event is really the fun stuff as they go.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think so
Yeah.
is the food and the tastings and the cake tastings. But there's obviously some more mundane pieces of the 100 decisions that are made on a daily basis when you're planning an event. But we really do appreciate the connection with the client. I feel like I can't get it right unless I absolutely have a chance to have that heart and soul connection with the client.
I agree.
So we really do. We're lucky in that that's always a part of our process, and that's something that I really cherish.
What also occurs to me is that process that you're talking about, getting to know the clients and having this, back and forth conversation, and the process, the tastings, all of that stuff, is that the planning, not only for us, but the planning for the client is an experience in of itself.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
lasting a long time, right? I mean, the night of the event, it's 4, 5, 6 hours, but this process ahead of time, I think, is really enjoyable and means a ton for the clients.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you have some clients that are, happier to be less involved, more involved. I think what's really special about the caliber of wedding planner and event planner that I have the privilege of working alongside of is that they make it fun. I mean, it's the onus is on us to have this experience be wonderful for the client. And the majority of event planners that I, have the good fortune of working with really, really, celebrate that all along the way. And that makes that moment when they've walked down the aisle, they're married, they come back, they're at the cocktail reception, those are the moments where we get a glimpse of them, of course, in the background, and they're thrilled, and those are the moments that we live for, right? I mean, it's just so satisfying.
Yeah, I completely agree. What can you tell a story, perhaps, from a wedding event? In terms of the kind of information you got ahead of time, and your creative process in coming up with the vision, the ideas, how it manifested. I would love to hear a story.
Oh, well, the one that comes to mind, I mean, I've got so many stories, but one that comes to mind is last year we had such a blast working with a wonderful client who had they just got the biggest kick out of the series Bridgerton, and they wanted to have a Bridgerton theme wedding. And I mean, I did watch that first season. So as soon as they said that, I thought, oh, this is going to be fantastic. So the setting was amazing. The setting was at the beautiful house and garden of Filoli, which is a historical spot down in Woodside. It's like 16 acres of stunning formal gardens. I mean, it's amazing. And so we created, and it was like a 350 person wedding. It was huge. And we created so many vignettes throughout, just little surprises, unexpected moments all along the way. We created a darling welcome beverage station. And, it was important for the parents of the bride. And I loved this about them. It was important for the parents of the bride that there was a comfortable little spot for people to sit all along the way. There was all ages at this event. And they were so kind and so concerned about the comfort of their guests. We had parasols. It was a lovely sunny day. It wasn't too hot, but we had parasols from the moment they arrived. We had beautiful beverages. They sort of meandered through the garden to happen upon the ceremony, which was basically the setting of this west lawn looking over the mountains, over the formal gardens. And we created a beautiful garden gate that they walked through. And the aisle was laden with beautiful hydrangea, PG hydrangea, which is a very specialized version of hydrangea, leading up to an arch that was just abundant with garden roses, just stunning. It was actually a more like a gazebo, and then we led them to the through the around the fountain, and by this garden, beautiful garden house where the set was the setting of the cocktail reception, and we created this incredible, stunning arbor over the beautiful big square bar, and we had furniture vignettes in every corner with customized umbrellas to shade the guests. And our wait staff, it was alongside of Paula LeDuc, which made it extra fun. The wait staff was wearing very formal jackets, and it was a sort of a white glove service at dinner where napkins were served to you. They weren't even part of the place
Oh,
setting.
that's great. Yeah.
And, I mean, lots of very different touches, dramatic, sort of a conservatory, which was nestled under these, incredible oak trees. And, it was just at every turn. And the music, there was darling little music vignettes all around, kind of just sort of otherworldly. And it just came off so beautiful. The china had this whimsical butterfly pattern, and I mean, at every turn, it was thoughtful. And, Bridgerton's kind of cheeky. So there was some really fun tongue in cheek elements. The bride designed all the bridesmaids' dresses, and she was really good. Sometimes you worry about that kind of moment, but she completely hit it right on the nail on the head. And it was just an extraordinary. I mean, I think people sort of left floating, and sort of waking up the next morning going, wow, did that really happen? I mean, and I think nobody knew what to expect. And it was just a really memorable evening. And I've got a lot of them, but that one is a standout. And also just so recent from last October. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that story. That's great. The detail you give. I can see it. I've been asked where I gained the inspiration and expertise to host this show, The Wedding Biz, and it all comes from my own experience in the weddings and event industry of creating world-class entertainment to support our custom entertainment design. Kushner Entertainment features outrageously dynamic bands, strings, and a host of other entertainment acts that have won numerous international, national, and local to the Washington, D.C. area awards, not only for individual acts, such as the band Sound Connection, but also for our highly engaging and captivating entertainment design concepts. Go to KushnerEntertainment.com to learn more about the ultimate in event entertainment. That's KushnerEntertainment.com. I'm also wondering, what is one of the biggest challenges, Kathleen, that you've ever had to face in your career, and how you personally dealt with it and how you overcame it? I mean, this is not an easy business, as you know, and there's so much emotion to it. So I'm wondering about that.
Well, it's so interesting because, of course, we set out to produce these events with, hours and hours and hours of production and very thoughtful timelines and all of that piece before we sort of take the show on the road. And, as event designers, florists, we have to bring everything in the kitchen sink. And I mean, literally. I think it's very handy to be resourceful and to have on your team the right group of people. We never travel far without our contractor, Paul. And he brings his own truck, which is like just in case, right? I mean, everything on his truck is sort of a just in case. And one time there was a just in case, and we were doing a ceremony down in the South Bay at a beautiful private home. And the bride was, it was a second wedding, and she was very concerned about the shade for her. I think she was a dermatologist, actually. She wanted shade for her ceremony. And this was long before, this was a long time ago, which tells you that I haven't made any mistakes since. Oh, just kidding. But she wanted shade for everyone. And this was before, arbors were being made like they are today. Like that's been such a trend in the last, 6 or 7 or 8 years. But So we set out to create a shade structure with long, beautiful swaths of Belgian Belgian linen over the guests, and I kept on saying, "Are you sure that fabric is going to not sag too much in the middle?" It just seemed like an awful long distance from one set of poles to the other. Anyway, I was told time and time again it was going to be fine, and then lo and behold, we had a sagging fabric situation to deal with, and thank God we set it up the Friday before the wedding. And and this is where having resources and having really good friends in the business comes in handy. I called in a panic my good friend Todd Owsley. He and his wife Jenny own Zephyr Tents, and he was reading a bedtime story to his two little girls who are now one's in college, and that was a while ago. And I called him in a panic and I said, "Oh my God, I've got this sagging fabric over this ceremony and it's never going to work. And I can't take it down because then I'm not going to have come through." And I was just a mess. And then lo and behold, he sent out his tenting team the next morning, and they supported those poles by securing the tops of the poles to trees from above and very discreetly sort of bolstering my original design idea. Nobody ever knew there was a problem. The planner didn't know, the bride didn't know, and we got away with it. But it was an incredible lesson to learn, and one that obviously still is in my heart and in my mind because he's a hero forevermore. But also, it just helps to be early and to do things as early as you can, because then you have time to make adjustments or corrections, as the
Right.
case may be.
What about the hardest part of what you do now, in your position or positions with both companies? Like, because here's why I asked, Kathleen. I think a lot of people who are not yet at a level like you're at just assume that you've arrived. Everything is easy now. You've been doing it for a while. You're at the top of your game. Everything's wonderful and great. What's the hard part behind all of this? Or maybe it is all simple and easy and great.
I love this. I love this opportunity to have a chance to learn. I think when you do what, you've been doing what you're doing for a long time, I've been doing the floral and design piece for a long time. And so when this particular opportunity came to me, by the way, from my brother-in-law, who is the CEO of the company and had worked for Paula and Jim for, 12 or 13 years before this, and my good friend Nancy Paraguay, who's our the VP of sales and client service, and then of course Daniel Capra, who has been the executive chef for over 20 years. All of these people I know and love for years, especially my brother-in-law. When they came to me with this, honestly, I thought, and I lost a little sleep over it because, of course, it's a huge decision, but also I had a good thing going.
Right. It's a big thing to take on now.
Right? It was like, well, I could just keep doing what I'm doing, even though COVID kind of presented a whole bunch of struggles for all of us, as things just slipped off our calendar and moved an entire year. But what I really thought to myself was, I'm going to learn something. I'm in my early 50s. A lot of my friends that do this they can do this work well into their 60s. I'm thinking, I'm going to learn, and it's a tenement of happiness, and I'm up for it. And so, and by the way, I have the most beautiful corner of the campus. My studio has its own entrance. It's on, Emeryville is a charming little town. 20 minutes across the bridge in San Francisco is my home with my husband. And it was that became what I latch onto to this day. I am learning a lot. I mean, I wouldn't say struggle, but but I will say is there aren't enough hours in the day for me. That's for sure. And I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But I love this decision. Challenges. sometimes I feel like I'm getting a little bit far away from the flowers because I've got so many talented people that can do that for me. I still like to do the bridal bouquet, and I still like to do the sample centerpiece. And then everybody else can finish them off, the next, whatever it is, 200 or 100 arrangements, whatever it is. So I do miss getting my hands in the flowers a little bit. And I do feel pulled in a lot of directions. And they do have a lot of meetings over here at Paula LeDuc Fine Catering. But other than that, it's all forward motion. My favorite piece, Andy, is that we have a property up in Napa that we manage called Beaulieu Gardens. And a lot of your listeners will know that beautiful property. And we have a plot of land there that I've started growing our own flowers on. They've been using, the Paula LeDuc team has been using that as a culinary garden for years, but we have quite a big plot. And so the last few years, I've been growing beautiful hydrangeas and dahlias and garden roses. And today we harvested a ton of trailing clematis flower that I actually brought over to the flower market and sold in 20 minutes, all of it. I had like 25 bunches and it went like hotcakes. So there's that too. I mean, I never had that opportunity before. That kind of came with the price of admission, So it's all good. I guess the challenge is there's just not enough hours in the day.
Right. Well, and just a couple more questions. So what is on the horizon for the company? What can someone expect from working with PLD?
Oh, PLD. Oh, we are back in business. I mean, the COVID was tricky for everybody, but we have got some incredible events on the calendar. We are beefing up our sales team. We're sort of really, we're ready. We really have a stronger together message. You were kind of carrying the baton for what Paula and Jim established all those beautiful 43 years. And they're still involved. We say Paula always has a seat at this table. And, we just saw them a few weeks ago. All of us had a dinner out. So she's checking in with us all the time. We're carrying the mantle and we've got a lot of new ideas. And you'll be seeing some of those rolled out in the next 12 months or so.
That's great. That's great. Well, last question, Kathleen. What does success mean to you? The moment I say that word, what is it for you?
I walk around with a lot of happy people on this campus, and success to me is keeping everybody busy, keeping everybody employed, and success is happy clients, repeat business, continuing to build on the long-standing relationships that I have and that we have with our event planning relationships, with our vendor relationships. Every year I seem to work with a couple of new planners, and that's really fun. And I think that's it. I think it's driving home every night across the Bay Bridge, heading west, and feeling really good.
Yeah. Sounds wonderful. Well, this has been great. What a great conversation. And I never could have thought that back years ago when I met Paula, that I would then be talking to you in this position.
Me neither.
Oh, right.
Thank you. This has just been so enjoyable, Andy. And I know you've interviewed a lot of the people that, a lot of friends of mine. So I feel very honored that I had the chance to talk to you today.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Kathleen Deery. Check out her website, which is KathleenDeeryDesign.com. Deery is Deery. Again, KathleenDeeryDesign.com. You can find her on social media at Kathleen Deery Design. And next week's guest, well, there isn't going to be one because it's Memorial Day, so I'm going to take a break. Other than that, see if you could follow The Wedding Biz by clicking on that follow button, and that way you'll always know when a new episode drops. And follow us particularly on Instagram at The Wedding Biz, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks.